When I left the West, I thought I was stepping away from opportunity. What I did not expect was to step into a different kind of wealth, the wealth of community, balance, and belonging. From far away, the cracks in the Western masterpiece are easier to see, and the contrast with Asia, day to day, is astonishing. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe if this kind of perspective helps you. In the comments, tell me where you feel more at home, the East or the West, and why. I read them all, often with a cup of tea in hand, nodding along or chuckling at the spirited debates. In this episode, I will break the story into 3 pieces. The Zen distance effect, why stepping back from a painting or a culture shows you what proximity hides. The belonging dividend, how community transforms health, wealth, and wisdom, even when incomes are modest. The build with balance pattern, how parts of Southeast Asia are industrializing while being intentional about social fabric. Stay with me, because halfway through I will pause to ask you what you want to know about how we lived through the lockdowns here. Spoiler, it involved a lot of noodles, neighborly favors, and a surprising amount of karaoke. Part 1. The Western lens I once wore. Back when I lived in London, I measured life the way most of us did. Career milestones, property values, and the size of retirement accounts. On paper, everything looked fine. But something gnawed at me. Inequality was everywhere. It did not matter how hard you worked. The gap between what ordinary people earned and what the top 1% enjoyed kept widening. My take-home pay was noticeably eroding every year, even while the company I worked for declared record profits each year. The dissonance between individual effort and collective reward became impossible to ignore. Each morning on my commute, I passed doorways where people slept rough, rain or shine. Around the corner, a billboard sold luxury apartments with starting prices that felt like phone numbers. 2 worlds, 1 city, and a widening chasm between them. You cannot unsee that once you step back and take in the whole canvas. Zen has a simple line for this. If you are always chasing, you are never arriving. That was the feeling. A culture sprinting in place, exhausted, and somehow further from itself. Like watching a hamster on a wheel, except the hamster is wearing a suit and tie and checking stock prices. Part 2. Malaysia and the quantum leap in quality of life. Then I moved to Malaysia. My nominal income was cut in half overnight. On a spreadsheet, that looks like defeat. In real life, something different happened. My quality of life took a quantum leap. Healthier food, stronger community, lower stress, and a pulse of everyday rhythm that I had not felt in decades. In all 3 ambitions, healthy, wealthy, and wise, life improved. Wealth changed meaning. It was not a number on a payslip. It was the morning market where the vendor calls you by name. It was neighbors who check on your kids when you are late. It was time to cook real food and time to walk after dinner. It was a calmer nervous system. When your days are less frantic, your decisions improve, and that quietly compounds into better health and better money choices. That is the belonging dividend in action. I joke that I lost my corporate title and gained the title of regular at the noodle stall. Best promotion I ever had. Part 3. Laos and a new framework for society. Laos deepened this shift. I arrived expecting the cliché of a poor country. What I met were children running out of school to say hello, to high-five, to practice English with joy. I found families laughing together in the evenings and a grounded optimism about tomorrow that I rarely heard in London. Less money on paper, more joy in practice. Less security in the abstract, more connection in the concrete. In a village outside Luang Prabang, I spent an afternoon talking with a shopkeeper who insisted I sit for tea. She told me about her children's dreams for the future, with a kind of grounded optimism I rarely heard back in London or America. That moment stayed with me. I left Laos with a different framework. Happiness did not appear after wealth. Happiness was part of the design, embedded in daily life, available at human scale. I began asking a different question. Not, how much do I earn? But how do my days feel? And who do I belong to? And sometimes, how many high fives did I give out before lunch? Part 4. The Western Decline, seen from far away. From a distance, the Western decline is not an abstract theory. It is visible. Homelessness in the shadow of glass towers. Polarization that turns neighbors into enemies. Corporations that break profit records while households fall behind. When wealth concentrates at the very top, society thins out in the middle, and the floor gives way for those at the bottom. That is not prosperity. That is fragility. The irony is painful. The West had extraordinary institutions and talent. But when community weakens, everything weakens. Health phrase, money decisions become reactive. Wisdom turns into noise. Proximity to the canvas hides that. Distance makes it plain. It is like hearing a band play with the bass unplugged. The beat is missing. The music is brittle. Part 5. Build with balance. Malaysia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. Here is the part that many Western friends do not see. Across Southeast Asia, countries are building industrial capacity while trying to balance the social fabric. It is imperfect and uneven, but the pattern matters. In Malaysia, you can feel the push to move up the value chain, from assembling to designing, from commodities to components, while policies and local habits still prize family, neighborhood, and food culture. Industrial parks rise, but morning markets still hum. There is a rough consensus. Progress is only progress if ordinary families can participate. In Vietnam, factories have multiplied and supply chains have shifted. Yet you still see 3 generations under one roof. You still see evening strolls. And you hear a public conversation about development that loops back to education, housing, and dignity. The message is simple. Do not lose the village while you build the city. In Cambodia, the base is earlier, but the direction is clear. Garment lines and newer industries are expanding, while communities hold on to rituals that keep people knitted together. Temples, markets, and schools are not decorative. They are structural. They slow the social heart rate while the economic heart rate accelerates. I call this the build with balance pattern. Grow industry, but protect the human cadence of life. Add jobs, but do not subtract grandmother's wisdom. The evening meal, the shared festival. It is not utopia. There are missteps everywhere, but that intention changes outcomes. In other words, keep the factory, but also keep the soup simmering. Part 6. Community, care, and the pandemic test. If you want to know what a culture truly values, watch what it does in an emergency. During the pandemic, the ingrained sense of community in Asia became obvious. Again, in imperfect and varied ways, but unmistakable. Mask wearing was framed as care for strangers. Neighbors checked on the elderly. Food showed up at gates and doors. Apartment chats and neighborhood groups offered help without fanfare. Many of us learned each other's names for the first time. The lesson was personal. Community is not an app. Community is a habit, built meal by meal, errand by errand, favor by favor. When the storm comes, you do not build a roof. You use the one you repaired together for years. And yes, sometimes that roof leaks, but at least there are 5 of you holding buckets instead of 1. If you are curious how we actually experienced the lockdowns in Southeast and East Asia, from daily routines to community workarounds, tell me in the comments. I can dedicate an episode to that story and give you the gritty details. Part 7. The framework you can use, the ordinary treasure test. Let me leave you with a simple framework you can apply anywhere. I call it the ordinary treasure test. Ask 3 questions about your life. Health. Are your days calm enough that you can cook, move, and sleep without negotiation? Wealth. Are your money decisions made from a quiet mind, not from stress? Wisdom. Do you feel connected to people who will tell you the truth and share a meal? If the answer is no, you do not need to move to Asia. You do not need to move at all. You may only need to redesign your daily rhythms and your social circle. The principle is portable. Practical first steps you can try this week. No mysticism, just life. 1 communal meal. Invite a neighbor, a colleague, or a friend to eat. phones outside the room. One local market. Buy food where someone knows your name. Let them learn your preferences. One slow evening walk. Move your body and tell one true story from your day. One money decision from calm. Never decide when your heart is racing. Sleep on it. Decide in the morning. These tiny actions are seeds. Water them, and in 6 months you will have a new garden. And unlike most gardens, you will not need a loan to afford the fertilizer. Part 8. Bringing it together. The Zen distance effect is not about running away. It is about seeing clearly and then acting wisely. The belonging dividend is not sentimental. It is practical. Belonging lowers inflammation, steadies spending, and raises the signal-to-noise ratio in your mind. The build with balance pattern is not guaranteed, but it is a compass that helps societies grow without losing themselves. From far away, I can see that Western corporations and billionaires are richer, while many households feel poorer, more polarized, and more alone. I can also see that parts of Asia are building, sometimes very fast, while holding on to the social glue that makes growth feel like progress. The gap between those two paths is not destiny. It is design. Close and reflection. So here's my invitation. Next time you feel the treadmill under your feet, ask yourself, am I chasing or am I arriving? Am I accumulating or am I connecting? If the answers trouble you, change one daily rhythm and one relationship this week. Let belonging lead and watch what follows. I want to hear your story. Have you lived both East and West? Where did you feel more whole? Tell me in the comments, and if this resonated, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a hopeful but honest perspective. Until next time, may you be happy and free.